The drought is over. For the first time since 2006, your Carolina Hurricanes have won an Eastern Conference Finals game. We had dropped 15 in a row, an NHL record that you never want to see happen again, or probably will never happen again. But we've done it. We broke through. We won Game 4 versus Florida, and I've got 5 key reasons as to how this happened. Make sure to stay to the end of the video because the 5th one is by far the most important. Quick public service announcement before we get started. A very small percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed to me, so make sure to go click that subscribe button down below. The first reason the Carolina Hurricanes were able to finally beat the Florida Panthers in a conference finals game was due to lineup changes. And this is by far the most one that is out of our control. But a big factor in the first couple of games for the Florida Panthers was Nico Mikkola, who was not in this game, as well as Sam Reinhart, who also did not get to play. A huge part of their power play successes and a monster on that second line with Tkachuk and Bennett. He did not get to play. And because of that, the Canes, could settle down the pressure a little bit more that Florida brought in, which is good. They're also missing AJ Greer. So Florida was down a couple players. I think they were almost given rest days because of how lopsided the series had been thus far. Based on the projections for what will probably end up being in Game 5, I don't think all these guys will be missing. So this one is by far the least sustainable, we'll call it, because it's out of our hands, and injuries are something that happen and go and go and go. But the Canes are not without their own injuries. Sean Walker and Jalen Chatfield were both out. You have the forwards rotating like Roslovic, Jankowski, KK. All of them have been kind of in and out of the lineup. Last night was Roslovic's turn to sit out, and Mark Jankowski, who came in, played great. He had a goal that was taken off because E-Rob was very barely offsides, but you love to see that from the group. The second reason, which is albeit a lot more important to the longevity of this series, is Freddie Andersen finally returning to form like he was the first 2 series. Freddie Andersen was the reason you beat Washington in round 2 and probably the reason you beat Jersey in round 1. He was awesome. He was posting like a 937 through 2 rounds, and then the first 2 games in Florida, he got stopped. It looked like Freddie just needed a little bit of rest, maybe to watch some film of Florida and stuff. It looked like he was not prepared the first 2 games. This game, he came prepared. Granted, there were not a lot of high danger chances headed towards Freddie this game, which is a good thing because it means your defense is stepping up. But Freddie, on all the chances they got, especially in the second half of the third period when Florida was really pouring it on, was able to step up, see through the reads, see through the screens, and block everything, allowing nothing in the net for his second shutout of the playoffs this year. This is very important to Freddie's longevity with the team because who knows, we signed him for 1 more year after how he's played this playoffs. And I would love to see him, continue this, maybe make the series 6 or 7 games. This feels like a very similar boat to what happened last year against the Rangers in the second round, where we were able to force Game 5 and then won Game 5, forced Game 6, and we should have won Game 6, but we choked in the very end. Hopefully that doesn't happen this time, but let's make it to Game 6 first. This Florida team is very good, so we got to keep the momentum rolling. The third reason that this game went better, and this is a very important one also, I know I've said that about all of these, but this one is huge. Dmitry Orlov, bro, had a really, really, really tough Game 3. That was probably one of the worst defensive performances I've seen in the playoffs of any year of the Canes. And to be fair, it's not all his fault. He was playing on his offside with Alexander Nikishin, who's a rookie, for the first time in 2.5 years, I believe. And playing your offside against probably the best team in the league in the playoffs, in the conference finals, when your team has had a drought of 15 straight losses, or 14 at that point straight losses, is not how you want to start. So great bounce back game from Orlov. You had guys like Slavin playing great. Burns played a much better game this time too. Nikishin played great. Ghost was good when he needed to be. And overall, your defense was good on the penalty kill. I thought the power play looked better from your defenseman up top. You finally figured out a way to stifle Florida's pinching defenseman by rotating a forward up if a defenseman's going to pinch, which made a huge difference in this game. A lot less breakaway goals and a lot less transition offense from the Florida Panthers, which is how you stop them. That's what Toronto did in the last round, and Toronto forced a Game 7. So hopefully we can continue this and continue to make that happen. Jacob Slavin last night played almost 28 minutes. Burns played almost 25 minutes. Ghost played a little bit. Orlov and Nikishin were both hovering around the 20-minute mark. And so it took the load off a guy like Scott Morrow, who's played in the AHL the whole season, had a couple NHL games, but still needs to develop a little bit more before becoming a full-time NHL player. But I think if Slavin and Burns can handle that, you've got to continue to do that in Game 5, because it worked this game. And Slavin and Burns are actually a plus in this series at this point because they were they were a net zero coming into this game, and now they've got, I think Slavin was a +3 this game. Huge night from Jacob Slavin. So you definitely want to manage the ice time per defenseman better, just like we did this game, and hopefully it continues forward. The fourth point I want to make here, and this is what I'm going to spend a little more time on because this one is more historical, is the mentality from the team. And this is something that was huge in this game specifically and can be huge moving forward. The Canes are underdogs. Even though we have home ice and we were the better team in the regular season, we are most definitely underdogs in this series. You've got a Florida team who's been to 2 straight cups. They've won one of them. They knocked you out in 4 games in the conference finals in 2023 and are now 7-1 versus you in those conference finals. They beat you pretty bad in the regular season, albeit with two backup goalies in there in Spencer Martin and Yanni Peretz. So you need a mentality change. And I think this was the first game where we actually played like underdogs, which is exactly what you need in this series. Florida was weaker this game and you took advantage of it. And I know Ride likes to say in these interviews that some of these guys weren't here for some of these conference finals losses, but the reality is there are a few guys here at least from the 4-game sweep series 2 years ago against these same Florida Panthers. And that's the series that stings the most because Florida was a underdog team in that series and they just blew you up. Granted, you lost every game by 1 goal instead of getting blown out like you did in the first 3 of this series, but it just stings a little more that you have 2 overtime games, a shutout against you, and then a game-winning goal or series-winning goal from Tkachuk with about 3 seconds left in Florida to not give you a single conference finals win. At the very bare minimum, this year, you have a conference finals win, which is good momentum going forward. Now that 0-15 curse is gone. They're 1-0 in their last 1 playoff game, which I know is a cherry-picked stat to look at, but you've won a game. That mental block of not being able to win a conference finals game is gone now. You would have liked for it to happen earlier in the series, I get it, but going forward, whether that be this year or in years in the future, you don't have that mental block of this team has lost every conference finals game it has been in since 2006. And just a funny little reminder here, the last time the Hurricanes won a conference finals game, guess what? They won the Stanley Cup. Love to see that again this year. I know it's extremely unlikely to come and reverse sweep Florida. I don't think it's going to happen. I hope we at least win Game 5 at home because the home fans deserve to see an Eastern Conference Finals win for the first time in 19 years. But you've got to keep the momentum going here. So whether that be, again, through this year trying to make it a series versus Florida instead of losing in 5 and bowing out, and then in the future, this Canes team is very young. Like Florida and some of the other old guard in the East is pretty old, whereas the Canes have some draft picks. They've got some guys that are younger. I think the Canes have the longest cup window of any Eastern Conference team currently. Granted, I'm not saying we're going to be favorites, but I think in terms of championship window, most of your core is younger than 30, which is what you want. And you've got some of your core that's younger than 25. Guys like Jarvis and Svechnikov, who are both semi-recent draft picks. Jarvis being a fairly recent draft pick, who are all really young and can keep your window open for longer. And now that you don't have that mental block of this team has not won a conference finals game in so long, you can achieve more. That's gone. The questions of can Rod win a game are gone. The questions of can this team get over the hump are gone. The question of will this system work is sort of still there because of the way this game ended, but also can be sort of gone. You played the game you needed to. You got the win you needed to. Freddie Anderson was great when you needed him to be. And now the media changes a little bit. We're not going to hear about 1-15 because it was 0-15 before that. It doesn't ring the same. So now your mentality changes. Now you've got to build on it. And I think we are able to do that. I think that is a thing we are able to do and hopefully, again, come into Game 5 and win. And now we've made it to the 5th and most important point of this game, and that is the emergence of the rookie for the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, this is not so much for this series as it is for the team going forward. But as I alluded to in the last point, the Canes are a young team with a wide open championship window that should last the better part of a decade, in addition to the success we've already had. As long as they're coached right, the general manager keeps the team competitive, we've got young guys and a prospect pool that is almost guaranteed to keep us successful. I want to highlight a couple of players. One guy who was part of a massive trade piece this summer in the Mikko Rantanen deal, Logan Stankoven, has been by far your best skater in this series. He scored a couple of goals. He scored 5 goals in the playoffs so far, so he's got 2 goals this series, and I believe an assist in this series. The game winner, the first Eastern Conference Finals game winner in forever for the Canes. And a cool little stat that's been popping up everywhere is Logan Stankoven has played in the Eastern Conference Finals and Western Conference Finals as a rookie because of how classifications of rookies work in the NHL, which is, again, kind of weird. But he's been really good. He's been your best forechecker, and he's the shortest guy on the team. He's been a good motor. He's been everything you want in a Carolina Hurricanes player, which is something some other players should take note of and try and replicate, because he has been, again, the best skater in this series. Another guy who's making his NHL debut in the playoffs this year, Alexander Nikishin, who we've all been talking about for a long time now. 2020 draft pick who's played now 4-ish games, maybe even 3, scores his first career NHL point yesterday in the playoffs with a beautiful pass to set up Logan Stankoven for that first goal, the winning goal. Look at that. 2 rookies. In the previous game, Rod Brindamore in his post-game press conference said that your best players cannot be rookies. I don't think Stanko and Nikishin and Jackson Blake and Scott Morrow listen, because 3 of those 4 guys have been some of your best players this series. And it hasn't even been close. Like, some of your guys you need to step up. Your Ahos, your Svechnikovs, and some of these guys that have been in the lineup for a while who need this moment to, like, catapult them to superstardom have not taken the moment. And there are certain players, when the moment comes up big, past the first round, they just don't perform as well. I don't see that in Stankoven or Nikishin. Those 2 guys have stepped up huge. Nikishin has been playing in a spot for Jalen Chatfield, who's one of your best defensemen, who is probably out with a longer injury than we thought it was going to be. So Nikishin will have to be a mainstay in the lineup. He's been great. He's earned more ice time game after game after game than he's played, earning Rod's trust, and was emotional in the post-game last night in the locker room after Jordan Stahl threw him his puck for his first career NHL point. He only said 3 sentences in his speech that everyone was begging for, but it was an emotional one. And you love to see that from a rookie who's hopefully going to be on the team and probably the face of your franchise potentially moving forward. You love to see that. And the last guy, and this is a point I've been wanting to make for a while now, but I haven't really had the time and the way to say it. Jackson Blake, who was not even supposed to make the roster, who had a very small percent chance to even make the NHL and play, has been a steady improvement the entire season. Granted, in this series, it's kind of tough for him because he's been getting bullied around by Florida's huge man-handling team. And that's okay. It reminds me similarly to Jarvis in the first year that they played Florida, where he got beat up and beat around. And then Jarvis came back the next season and put on some weight. Or maybe that was New York. Either way, one of Jarvis's first 2 years, he got beat around, and the next year he put on some weight. The next year he put on even more weight. So if Jackson Blake can do that, he is such a key contributor moving forward. And a guy that we let go of this year at the beginning of the trade season, we'll call it, Marty Nagys. I see flashes of that in Jackson Blake. The flashy play style, the skating up fast, the relentless play, the I am going to beat you one-on-one every single time attitude. And again, he's a rookie. He's only going to get better. The team's future is bright. And now that the boogeyman of 0-15 is off your back, let the team fly forward. This is great for the future, whether it be this year or in the years in the future. You've got many guys, not including the guys who are in the prospect pool. I didn't even mention Scott Morrow, who played a better game yesterday. You've got Bradley Nadeau, who is a sniper that's going to come up next year most likely and play. You've got a deep team. You've got a young team. This is a team that should be contending for a very, very long time. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to click the like button down below. Leave a comment on what you think the biggest reason the Canes were able to break the streak is. How long can we keep this going for? Is this year over? How's the future looking? Let me know all of your thoughts. Make sure to click the subscribe button. Hope you guys enjoyed again. And as always, stay crazy, guys, and peace out.